Hello, welcome. I am Eliza Kane, and I am a breathwork specialist and self-discovery expert. And I focus on the breathwork portion of botanical breathwork.
And I am Elliott Brinkley. I am an herbalist and an owner of an herbal apothecary in Durango, Colorado called Dancing Willow Herbs. And I do the plant infusion, plant meditation, teaching part of botanical breathwork.
And together we have interwoven our two skill sets to create really special events under botanical breathwork. Each month or each quarter now, we pick a plant that really resonates with what's going on in the collective, and we dive deeper into the relationship with that plant and how it can support us during these times. And so today we wanted to just speak a little bit further on how did botanical breathwork begin, and really what is it, what is the intention, what is the deeper intention and purpose of these classes and workshops that we do. How about we start? I would love to hear your backstory with plants and how you've had like a lifelong, I think, love for plants, but what really inspired that? What are some fun memories around that helped develop that relationship?
Well, there was a day, I remember it, when I was in an office waiting for my dad. He always was going, he was is a massage therapist. And I think maybe it was a chiropractor, some alternative thing. And I was waiting in the office and I saw hanging framed a certificate of herbalism, like that this person was a certified herbalist. And I remember feeling just a whole body like, whoa, this is something that you can do. Because at the time I was in high school, it was like we had to apply to colleges, we had to think about what we were going to do in the world. And I felt like none of the avenues that were very straightforward and conventional aligned with me. All I knew is that I really loved plants. And so then to have that as like, wow, that is something that you can do. You can be an herbalist. I remember just being like, this is it. That's it. And so I didn't go right away. I went to college the normal way that everybody wanted me to. And then I always had that as an inkling of like, I know I'm going to be an herbalist. I know that that's something I'm meant to do in this world. And so I started interning at this herbal apothecary, which I now own. But I was so drawn. I remember coming here and there wasn't a job for me. So I would go home and I was like, I'm going to work at Dancing Willow Herbs. I just know I'm going to work there one day. And then eventually I started working here, and just being able to spend time with the plants, it transformed me. And I feel like there's something about even just subtly, I was learning about plants, but whenever I would come into the shop, especially when I was younger, I was very sensitive. I always have been really sensitive, and especially when I was younger and navigating the world, I didn't really know how to navigate that sensitivity in a really clear, boundaried way. And so I would cry all the time. I was a little bit emotionally tender. And I remember having moments when I was just not feeling quite right. I would not feel good. And then I would come into the shop and I would start working with the plants, and it would be transformative. And I didn't really know what was happening, but all I knew was that working with these plants would alchemize whatever I was experiencing on some subtle level, so that I was in better alignment with myself. And so I've just kind of deepened that relationship throughout the years of working more and more with plants and being able to feel the way that they support us, not only on this physical, constituent level, but also on this emotional, spiritual, like they all have such potent information and goodness to offer us that relates to the way that we walk in the world. So that.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love the clarity you had, like when you heard like herbalist, like when you saw that and the chills in your body, because something I've always really admired about you is that you're so clear and focused, where you're like, well, no, my intention is that I'm here to help bridge the relationship between people and plants. And it's just like so simple, so focused, and you do so many different things, yet all of those things kind of circle back to that foundational principle. And I love that, because that's definitely one of the main intentions we have at Botanical Breathwork, is to really bridge that relationship. And you do such a beautiful job of that. And I feel you on the sensitivity. I think, when you are connected to the elemental realms and the capacity that you are, that involves a sensitivity, because that communication happens on so much more of a subtle level. And, you're just in that space. And so it's just very inspiring, and it makes sense. And it also ties into one of our other elements, where the relationship with the body is so important, and really having a healthy, strong body is a part of the equation to help us manage the sensitivity that can happen so much. Because you also teach yoga, and what's kind of been your own journey with your body and using the plants as allies to kind of strengthen the vessel you're operating, so you can handle the sensitivity you have.
That's a really beautiful question. Because I think that there's something about when you're working with plants, you smell them, you taste it. There's something that immediately you kind of are brought into your senses. And that is, initially, when I was younger, I noticed that as what was so profound in nature was that I could be present. I could feel the wind on my skin, and wow, that's like one of the most beautiful feelings. Or to just smell the trees, like to really engage with nature with with our senses. It allows you to get back into your body. And I think that a lot of times, yeah, like with yoga, or I was also a dancer. So, like those movement pieces, it's like having that physical engagement to return to your body. Working with plants is a little bit different in the way that, in the way that it brings you back into your body. But still, it almost, I think one of the major things that it does is it engages your senses. And by doing that, you're like a part of the environment around you in a different way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And we had talked about how, what's interesting about botanical breathwork is that the inception of it really happened right at the beginning of the pandemic. It was right when we were sitting in a space of so much unknown, and we were kind of like, we don't know we don't know what's really happening. We don't know how we're going to navigate this. But what felt really clear to me, and I'm sure you can very much relate, is that in that space of the unknown, what we do know is that having a healthy relationship with the body, really supporting that relationship, is more vital than ever before, because our bodies are always going to be our first line of defense. And it also, to me personally, felt like this existential crisis, this calling, and this like just this almost like siren that's like, you guys, we're so disconnected from our bodies and from the earth. This is the opportunity to really heal that, to go and dive really deep into exploring like, why have we dissociated so much from this incredible ally? Like, the earth is such an incredible ally, and so are our bodies. And so it's just been so fun to play with these elements, and to lean back into these relationships that have always been there, but we've kind of put on the back burner for so long. It just feels like we're really pushed to just reevaluate them and strengthen them, because there is such a synergy between a healthy body and the healthy earth, and the healthy earth and the healthy body. What we're consuming, the water, the plants, we're consuming the earth, and then we're becoming it. And then as we take care of ourselves, we naturally want to treat the earth better, because we want the foods that taste really good. We don't want things that have chemicals because it doesn't taste good. We want the pure, fresh water. And so I just kind of love how it all plays together. And then, of course, the breath is the bridge, and that's why botanical breathwork is just so poetic, in that sense, because, we breathe out, the earth breathes in, vice versa. It's such a example of interconnectedness. And that's another thing we're all really learning about. And so I remember during this time, like, I had been really feeling into the element of the breath, because I teach the breath work, and you teach, Elliott teaches the breath work as well. And so we both really have that strong awareness of the power of our breath and how healing it could be. But then what really kind of tied it all together was when I heard Elliott reading a piece she had written about dandelion. And this is something that just makes, I feel like the botanical breathwork, it gives it's like secret sauce, makes it's this extra special thing, because not only was Elliott sharing about like how the medicinal qualities that existed, you gave the plant a personality, and you made me like want to lean in and be friends with the plant. And you also opened my eyes to the diversity that exists within the earth, because I think sometimes we lump like the earth as like this one conglomerate, like this one energy, and we forget that there are millions of flavors and personalities that exist. And so I love how you highlight that, and maybe you can speak a little bit to where that comes from, and then also how you take the space to then also feel into what's happening collectively, and what plant would really make the most sense to work with for the collective during a specific time and space, during something we're going through.
Yeah, beautifully said, by the way. It is so true that like, well, and we're in this moment of like kind of uncertainty, and it was like at the end of the day, when we come back, like we always have our body, we always have the earth, and to connect with these plants is just like so real and so grounding to everybody in any sort of ungrounded moments. But I think that it is really beautiful to show these different personalities of the plants, because they all do have their own little character, their own gifts, that I think that often when we become beginner herbalists, there's a lot of this mindset of like, oh, what is that herb good for? And I really love shifting that perspective to, well, that plant, it has all of these gifts, just like you and I have these brilliant things that we have to offer the world that are unique and, important. I wouldn't just say like, oh, Eliza, what are you good for? That would be like a little bit offensive. So it's like, we can be kind of in our relationship building with plants, individual plant personalities and allies. It's like, oh, let me get to know you a little bit better on an intimate level, not just in a way that's going to serve myself, but in a way that lifts the plant up and gives the plant opportunity to show itself to us. Because a plant might be medicinal in whatever ways it is, and it might affect you differently. So it's just part of this developing relationship. And I think too, with the collective moment, it's been a really fun sort of dance for me to be like, okay, what is going on right now? Like, what plant is showing up to kind of support whatever is happening in the collective? So we had a lot of different ones over the past year that I felt like I would just kind of be thinking about it or meditating on it of like, okay, what plant is coming up right now? And then it would be kind of clear that like, okay, this is the plant that wants to be the next botanical breathwork. And so we would make it that plant. And then as the month would progress, it would just be more and more pertinent. Like other things would happen with the collective that was like, okay, that plant is really important right now. Or in my personal life, I would notice that, you know, the exact medicine I needed was the medicine that showed up. And yeah, and learning when I would write the monographs for the plants, it's a lot of research. Like I go and through every single herb book I have, and I take down that information. I refer my notes from herb school, my different teachers, like I go through all the resources for that plant. And I compile such this sort of base of different knowledge or information. And in doing that, I also am like taking the plant throughout the month. So I will engage with taking the tincture or the flower essence or the tea, whatever I have on hand. And I will notice how much information comes from just doing that as well, of just, you taste it, you realize like, wow, when we did rosemary, it was kind of I think it was November, so it was cold. And during that time, it's a very, very warming herb. And I'm a pretty warm constitution type of person. And I remember looking back at the video and I was like, am I sunburned? I was just like all red. Everything was red. I'm in a tank top, like, because I was using the rosemary a lot and I was very warmed up by it. So it's just cool to get to experience the plants in that way for me and for those who participate.
Yes, no, I have learned so much from you through this process and through learning about the way you connect and take time to feel into it. Like it is a very intuitive process. And I think that's one of the elements why we've really coupled the breath work with everything, is because, the breath work really gets you out of your head, it gets you into your body, it gets you into your heart, where you can kind of feel the more subtle communication that happens and that guidance, because we are always being guided. Like nature is always reaching out and supporting. And there is this intuitive knowing that's always like guiding us to the different plants and foods and people and everything that we should be experiencing. So I've loved that. And I've loved learning from you in that process. And I also love how you brought in the element of intimacy, because I think that's something we all crave so much, yet we have such a challenge with. And you really phrased it very nicely when you were saying how we always, what can I get from you? What can you give me? Instead of allowing the essence of a person or the plant to express themselves and to be like, to just witness them, to get to know them, to actually have a relationship with them. It's such a beautiful awareness to have. And it's really exciting because we're moving forward. We have changed the format of botanical breathwork, where before we used to, Elliott would give this introduction and it was wonderful. And you would get the monograph afterwards and we would do breathwork, and it was this beautiful experience. However, the monograph is filled with so much information, and it just, and Elliott has so much wisdom to share, that we felt it would, in order to actually create more intimacy with the plants, we were going to be doing more of a workshop format now, where the monograph will be given beforehand so people can read it and kind of get familiar with the plant and come with questions and stories and just experiences, so we all can kind of dive into that intimacy. We're a time of information overload where we just want more and more and more, instead of really being with what we have right before us and leaning in and unpacking the layers that exist there. So I'm so excited for our workshop, which is going to be coming up November 4th, which is going to be a new moon too. So it's going to be extra special. But yeah,
Know that
Elliott,
it
do
was
you want
amazing.
to? Yeah, I know, I didn't realize that. I looked at my calendar. I'm like, wait, this is the new moon. We just kind of see, that was our intuition working.
I guess so.
New beginnings.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else? Is there anything else you want to kind of share? And kind of wrapping up, talking about botanical breath work and the relationship with plants.
Well, I just want to say that every time it's so amazing how these things kind of come into the world, like that I joined your creative writing group and then you were like, let's do this together. And then we did it together, and the amazing space that I feel like has, every time that we've held it, it's been so
Yeah.
beautiful. The types of experiences people say, like before even knowing anything about the plant, then they'll have this experience that's like pretty spot on with what that plant has, kind of, that's plant's essence, without really knowing. So I think that it's just amazing how the breath can kind of put us into this space of being more open and receptive to really getting to know these plants. It's
Yeah.
way more of a somatic like experience of a plant than just intellectually learning about it. You get to have your own experience and relationship. And I think that that is really valuable and has shown itself as being really valuable in all of our experiences and events that we've held in the past. And so I just feel so grateful that we've created this space, and am so excited that we get to continue sharing it and sharing it now with more so Dancing Willow Herbs community, and people, more and more people, to get a better knowledge of their bodies, of the plants, of the earth, so that we can all show up a little bit more fully in the world as ourselves, connected to all of those elements.
Yes. Yeah, I feel you just so much. It's been such a special experience because it has unfolded very fluidly and organically, and we've learned so many beautiful things through the whole process. There's just really something special about when we do these classes, that to feel that energy of the plant come in, it's just a unique experience that I love having. And it's really exciting that you have Dancing Willows now, because people have before they're like, I want to engage even further with the plant, and are there tinctures, are there things? And now there's actually a place that people can find the physicality of the plant as well. They can take the essence, but then they can be like, oh well, I'm going to try this tincture or this salve, or it's just kind of all fits together really beautifully. And I'm just so excited for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
Well, thank you, anybody who has tuned in up to this point. We're so grateful for your interest, and whoever you are, we like you if you're here. So
And bring questions, and that's what's so fun, is there's so much to dialogue about. And so we just really wanted to prompt conversation and prompt thought for people to you know feel like they can come and ask questions and dialogue around. There's so much to dialogue around the plants and the relationship to our bodies and the breath. And we're really excited to talk more and share more and learn more. So thank you.
Yes. Thanks.
I will stop the record. Hello, welcome. I am Eliza Kane, and I am a breathwork expert and also a self-discovery expert. And
I'm Elliott Brinkley. I am an herbalist and an owner of an herbal apothecary in Durango called Dancing Willow Herbs.
can we do it over?
Yeah.